And so that's the most common thing I get out of agents and other businesses. Just they're stale with their staffing, and they don't know how to hold them accountable. They don't know how to push them. They don't want to upset them. Well, what if they quit? Great. I'll go to someone else. I want someone that wants to be in this agency. I want someone that wants to be in my business, someone that wants to help me grow my business, and they will be compensated very fairly if they help me do that.
Got questions, we bring the facts. From proven pros who walk the tracks. Business life, no smoke, just flames. Ask the experts, David Williams brings the game.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Ask the Experts. It is that time, it is that day of the week, and I'm going to be your host, David Williams, with my co-host, Andy Arner. And what we love to do is bring in incredible experts, and we have a very, very special guest for you today. We like to bring in some of the sharpest, most forward-thinking minds in the insurance industry and beyond. And today we're seriously excited about our guest because he's not just shaking up the game. He is redefining what it means to run a high-performance, people-focused agency. Mr. Daniel Austin, he is the owner of the Austin Agency, one of the most talked about insurance agencies in Tennessee. With multiple locations, his reputation for energy, creativity, culture, and I'll add in there just a great human. Daniel has built something special. His approach combines hustle, heart, humor, and a whole lot of strategy. He's not just a leader in his own office. He's a go-to speaker at insurance conferences, especially when it comes to using AI, streamlining operations, building COIs, elevating marketing, and scaling teams without burning out. So outside of work, Dan is a proud dad and a diehard Tennessee Bulls fan, and you can usually find him on the sidelines cheering with his son and alongside his wife, Sarah, as a loving husband. So buckle up because this conversation is going to be full of gold. Daniel, welcome to the show. It is an honor and a privilege to have you on, my friend.
Man, thank you. I wish you could follow me around and do that every time I have to talk, man. That's my day going.
That's a side service that we also offer. We can talk later on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it, man. No, I'm excited to be here.
No, absolutely, man. Let's, where we like to start always is, maybe tell us a little bit about your background, where you got started, and your unique American dream story, getting started in the insurance industry and now taking it by storm.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started in 2011, and the way I kind of got into it, I was actually working retail selling credit cards, and so my dad was a commercial lender, and he did a loan or was doing multiple loans for an Allstate agent, local Allstate agent. And through small talk, it's like, hey, what does your family do? And they finally got to me, the third child, the youngest, finally got to me and was like, yeah, my son sells credit cards, at a retail store, outdoor store. And he's like, man, if he can sell credit cards, he can sell insurance. So he came to my job while I was selling credit cards, walked in, had his initials on his cuffs, dressed to the T. And I was like, oh man. So he was like, hey, I want you to come work for me. So, all right. Let me do it. I had to take the test and go all that and get everything. And so what's cool is I started April 1st, 2011 here in Tennessee. I started in insurance as a producer, 2011, April. 27 days later, the largest tornado outbreak in this country's history, all through Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee. So within 27 days, and this brought my passion to insurance. I realized what we do means so much more than just trying to sell policies. So my whole mindset is like, man, I can sell credit cards. I'm going to sell policies. I want my name on my cuff. Like, I want that. That's what I want. And within 27 days, I had to step back and I was like, okay, this means more than just trying to sell policies. And so that skyrocketed me within the insurance field, learning the ins and outs, understanding it better, approaching customers and consumers in a different way, and not just trying to sell them, cheap policies. And so, so I did that, and I was like, man, I love it. I enjoy it. I talked to some other people, and I was like, I want to do this long term. I would like to get into my own agency. So fast forward 2017, 6 years later, bought my first agency. Loved it. It was a 2-man shop. And then I came in, grew it. We bought another one in 2019, and we just bought our most recent one in 2023. So we've had 3 acquisitions over the last 8 years or so. But that's where it started, man. It started through small talk through my dad, it's skyrocketed into where it is now. And the passion I have behind just insurance and learning about people and just having these conversations with them, man, it just blew it up. And I absolutely love what we do every day in and day out. But that's how I got started. So 2017 to now, 3 acquisitions, 2 locations. Depends on the day, but I think right now we have like 13 staff members, right? Could be 12 tomorrow, could be 15 tomorrow. So, you know, got a good amount of staff right now. So, but that's where it all started, man. So credit cards.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
And, kind of what I unpack there too is, sometimes in life, it's not about what you know, but it's who you know. I think there's too many people that's like, well, I got to get everything right. I got to get everything perfect before I start my business. I got to study and I got to be a master at everything. I think similarly to you, I came into the insurance industry not knowing much about insurance, but it was somebody that I knew. And then through that relationship, I saw opportunity and seized it. And I'd be curious how, on that topic, how mentorship, all the way from that early on state has really shaped and molded your journey along the way.
Absolutely. Yeah. The gentleman I worked for, I give him and his son was the manager. I give them so much credit for where I'm at today because they were an open book when it came to how to run a successful business, but also how to run an insurance agency outside of a successful business. And so, it was a father-son duo, man. They were absolutely amazing. They taught me almost everything I know about how to open an agency, run an agency. So when I opened, I didn't feel like I was a stranger. I didn't feel like I've never done this before. Although I was a producer, I came right into it, knowing it because of all the years and stuff that they've trained and taught me. And they knew my goal was like, ultimately, hey, in the next couple of years, like I want to open one. I want to have my own. I don't know if that's an acquisition or a scratch. We'll get to that point. But they taught me on how to, marketing, staffing, and where to look to hire, and then, setting goals and understanding how the comp works, which, was always difficult. Man, they taught me everything I knew. They really did. So I came into this with very level-headed, I felt like, and not being too scared about it because of what they did for me.
No, I love that. I love that. And I guess some of the, the agencies that are maybe out there today and, they weren't blessed like, you or I to come across somebody that could teach us a thing or two about a thing or two when it comes to it. Obviously we made our own success, but at the end of the day, I think success leaves clues. And if you can have a good mentor that you can get some insights from, you can make your own, that makes all the difference. What do you have to say to maybe some of the agents that are out there? They haven't, found that level of mentorship, whether it's, they just haven't come across the right person or they're in a place of fear, afraid of asking for help.
You know what? And to be honest, I've got so many mentors now, like just people I look up to on a high level all across the industry. And I could honestly say, I think in the beginning, I was probably like that when I first started my agency. Okay, they taught me what I need to know. Now I know it all. Right. Or I just don't want to ask for help because I've got this persona about me and I don't want to ask like I'm asking for help and they don't know what I'm doing. I think I probably had that at the very beginning. And we were probably stale for a little bit. We were growing. We were having problems hitting numbers, but I was probably a little stale on that. And then I opened up, and then I started meeting some other agents, some mentors, yourself, some of the other agents I looked up to when I was younger, trying to figure out how do I get to that level? How do I scale at that level? And then asking the questions. I think the people get nervous about asking questions because they don't want to bother whoever this mentor is. Right. Or I don't want to ask them a question. They're probably so busy. I don't know of any agent that I've ever spoke to that wasn't open to help, at least on my level. Right. So people come to me and ask for help on certain things. I'm an open book. I love to help you. I want to see you succeed. I want to see you grow. And I think people just get scared about asking and you can't be, you got to be open. Right. I mean, if you're going to be, this isn't the kind of business to be sheltered in and to be nervous about. Right. And not sales in general, but also owning an agency or owning any kind of business. You got to be open to say, okay, what are the top producers doing? What are the top agents doing? The top businesses? And how can I duplicate that? How can I succeed that? You got to talk to them, and there might be some people out there, but for the main part, for the most part, at least, I've never had someone say, no, I don't have time to talk to you, or I don't want to share my ideas with
Same here, same too. I think people underestimate the level of people that are willing to help out there too. And they've been to the place. I think the reason why they're willing to help so much is because they've all been to the place that we've been at one point in time. And when somebody is in that place, they remember being in that place.
you. Yeah.
And they just want to pass along, kind of the blessing and give them a little bit of the roadmap and that compass, I guess, so to speak. And I know your success has led you to coaching, speaking on stages now. And I'd be curious, as you're working with agents across the country now, what are some of the most common mistakes that you've seen agents make that are maybe, they're not where they want to be inside their agency. They're not where they want to be in life. And they're so-called sitting in a setback.
Yeah. The biggest thing I see is agents are not working on their business. They're working within their business. They're not an owner. They're just like every other person. They're just a producer or service. They're not working on their business. And they struggle holding their staff accountable. People don't want to upset people, especially nowadays, right? People don't want this cancel culture or whatever it could turn into be. So I don't want to piss someone off, or I don't want to upset someone.
I don't care about that all too much.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I think people are just scared to hold people accountable and tell them the truth. Okay. So I'll work with an agent. Okay. So what are your staff goals? Well, they don't really have goals. They got these commission tiers that they have to hit. Okay. Well, what's their minimum goal? Well, we don't have a minimum goal. Why not? What's their daily activity look like? Well, they call and then they do some marketing events. They'll go here and there. Yeah, I get that. But what's their minimum activity? Oh, we don't have that. Why not? So it's just holding staff accountable. If you don't hold them accountable, you're never going to be more than what you are today. Right. So you're never going to grow. You're always going to be stale. And so that's the most common thing I get out of agents and other businesses. Just they're stale with their staffing, and they don't know how to hold them accountable. They don't know how to push them. They don't want to upset them. Well, what if they quit? Great. I'll go to someone else. I want someone that wants to be in this agency. I want someone that wants to be in my business. Someone that wants to help me grow my business, and they will be compensated very fairly if they help me do that. And so I think it just goes back to a lot of staffing. And to this day, I still have staffing issues, right? It's never going to be perfect. We're always hiring and making transitions and firing and changing things. It's just part of the game. But if you don't do it, you're going to be stale. You're never going to grow the business or the agency.
No, 100%. When it comes to, you talk about working on the business rather than in the business, I wholeheartedly agree with that. But one of the things that I'll see out there with people is, the things start to stack. You start to lose focus on too many different balls that you should have had your eye on. All of a sudden, you're in this state of overanalysis paralysis because there's so many things that are broken and there's so many things to focus on that you don't know where to start. It's kind of like so many people going out there with their taxes, right? They got this like massive garbage bag full of receipts, or however they're doing it, whatever method with their madness. So what do is they keep putting out their taxes, they file an extension, and then they end up paying the piper later on because they weren't prepared and they didn't have it. And I see the same thing here. So when you're starting to work with somebody that's in the midst of the madness and then you're trying to take them out of that, what are kind of the first steps, I guess, to get them a little bit momentum in their life? Because I've always found momentum cures all, and then that small bit of momentum can lead them on a trajectory to get to where they want to go.
Yeah, no, I get that. And I think the first is having them realize that they are in charge and make small steps. It's almost like, we talk about like what you're talking about, and it's just overwhelming sometimes on all the things that have to be done or corrected and all that. I almost go back to like debt. If you're trying to pay off debt, you kind of do, start with the lowest or highest interest rate and knock that out. You got to build it up. You can't just be done, one write of a check and be done with all your debt. Same thing with the business. Let's find what's the most crucial points that we need to work on first, right? Mm-hmm. Don't worry about your handbook right now. If you want to redo your handbook, let's do that later. There's nothing about why are we not hitting numbers? Why are we not succeeding? Why are you not getting paid yourself? Why are you not paying yourself enough? Because you guys aren't hitting numbers. So it's almost just baby steps, but having them realize that, okay, you're in charge. You need to take control of this. But how do we do that? It's just baby steps, one after another, and we can kind of grow off that. But having them realize that they got to be upfront. They got to be vocal about, here's my issues. How do I fix them? Same thing. Snowball effect. Okay, let's start with the most crucial ones, or ones that we can knock out quickly that maybe we can do in the next day or two. But what are some long-term ones? And we start just doing a snowball effect. Coaching and strategy, and you're never going to be content with your business ever, 100%. There's always ways to improve. The industry is always changing. You have to evolve with the industry. You're never going to be done doing what we're talking about here. But let's start with the baby steps. Let's take the next 4, 5, 6 months, 8 months to get where you want to go. And if things change, we can make adjustments at that point. But it's just starting with the baby steps and going forward steps.
No, I love it. I love it. And I know you mentioned, just a minute ago too, like the importance of having the right team, right? I don't think you can get it done alone, and you need to have a team, and you need to have a great team. Coming from Team Hired, recruiting company, making recruiting great again. I'd be curious your process, what that looks like of curating the right team members that, kind of conform to that culture that you've built. And then what it looks like from a leadership perspective, leading those team members to greatness when you onboard them.
Yeah, I think for us, it was a lot of trial and error, trying to figure out how do we hire actual successful producers, right? I used to get sold every interview. Oh, I can do these numbers and I can do this. Awesome. You're hired. Let's start. 2 weeks in, they haven't sold, a single item. I can't afford to keep you now. You're right. So mine was trial and error. I could never successfully figure out. I was just bad at interviewing as an owner. If I'm bad at interviewing, why am I doing the interviewing? Let me outsource that. Yep. Obviously, I don't know how to hire people, right? Now I've got some really good people that I personally hired myself. I'm very proud that I got them. I've for every one I keep, I probably go through 10.
Yep.
If obviously there's probably something wrong with the way I interview, and I just want the best out of everyone. And if they sell me, I'm all in, right? But I don't hold them. Before I wasn't holding them accountable to that, and so I used to get burnt. A lot of trial and error. But once we get them in the door, we have a very, very good process. We have a 90-day plan to get them up to speed and producing with all my other team members, my higher producers, within 90 days. And we're going to push you in every aspect that we can to make sure we get you there. If not, we go back and forth. You're not hitting, certain benchmarks, all that. Let's have some conversations. Let's figure this out. But once we built out this process of here's your 90-day goals, this is how we're going to do coaching and training. You're going to do some shadowing. We're going to hold you accountable on activity every single day. You've got to hit this every single day. If not, don't worry about coming back in. It's holding them to a hardcore, just like baseline of what they have to do. Before, man, come on in. Here's a list. Go sell. No coaching.
Yeah. Go get it done.
There's nothing. And then I'd sit here and I'm like, why aren't you selling? That's on me. I was doing a bad job in the beginning of not coaching and training them, especially if it can go both ways. People outside the industry or people that are in the industry, and you just took them from another agency, right? You take someone from another company and they come in, they don't know how you run your business. They know insurance, but they don't know how you want to run your agency.
Yep.
They might, who knows what they might be doing, right? Who knows what liability limits they're putting on policies. They don't know what I wasn't teaching them. And once I figured that out and we kind of built out this 90-day process, now it's starting to get a lot better with our staffing, right? We still hold them accountable. They still have to hit the tiers, but we have a lot less turnover. And we're not running through as many people now because we're focused on setting them up for success from day one, the best we can, not just giving them a list and telling them to go call and sell.
No, absolutely. And I think because of how important that is, I'd like to go a little bit deeper on that too. Like if you had to sum it up to maybe 2, 3 non-negotiables of the person that you hire and 2, 3 non-negotiables of the activity of the person that you hire, what would those things look like that are absolute lines in the sand? This has to happen to work for me, and this has to happen to stay working for me.
So when I'm looking at hiring people, positivity has got to be one. If you are negative in any way, don't bring that in here. I don't want negativity. We have a very upbeat, we have a very positive agency. The staffing, like we all get along. So for culture wise, it's got to be a good fit. And our culture is being positive at all times, right? I don't care if you just lost a 20 car auto, be positive. Okay. You know what? We're going to try to get in 4 months. We're going to try to get in 5 months, whatever, we'll try to get in next year. So positivity goes a long way. If I'm over there, if I'm sitting in my office, I hear someone like, oh, it's another dead lead. I keep getting these leads. The phone numbers don't work. Oh, go on to the next. Why are you complaining? So that's one thing. And then talk about as far as like once they get in activity and stuff, numbers speak more than anything. So, we love policies, we love items, but if you're connecting with people and you're not selling, that goes back on me as far as coaching. But I want a minimum talk times, quoted items every single day, items sold every single day, and outbound calls every single day. Right now, we have a 4-tier system. It's called the daily measure. You've got to hit one of those 4, right? Newer staff, we want you to hit at least 2 of those 4 every single day. So maybe you're not selling today, but hey, you know what? As long as you quoted 10, and I'm going to talk some terms here, but as long as you quoted 10 VC items, I'm cool. You got the activity. But if you quote 10 VC items by 10:30 in the morning, what are you doing the rest of your day? That's where you got to at least do 2. Make those outbound calls, have that talk time, start building up your pipeline. I'm a firm believer. I know other agencies are a little bit different. I'm a firm believer that there is a build-up time in insurance. You will not be successful day one. It's rare. I know some agents that have been very successful day one, but there is a build-up time. And I'm not saying 90 days is a build-up time, but it's going to take you a few weeks to learn the systems, get your leads, build up your pipeline. I'm feeding you 5, 6, 7 leads a day, plus you have all these lists to call. Okay, well, that's going to compound over the next 2, 3, 4 weeks. Now we're really starting to produce. Now you're making multiple touches a day. It's hard for someone to come out day one and say, hey, I'm going to sell 10 items in the first 2 days of business, right? If you do it, great. I love you. You're on board, but there's going to be a build-up time on that. So we push them on activity. That's non-negotiable. You've got to hit activity. 2 of those 4 tiers for the new staff. And then again, going back to like what we're looking at with hiring, and this doesn't make it or break it. Let me add one more thing. This doesn't make it or break it, but I absolutely love if people have a social media presence. I love it.
Yep.
My highest producers year in and year out have a social media presence. I've got some producers, they do great. They write numbers that I'm happy with, and I'm not going to push them to get on social media if they don't want to be on it, because they write good numbers. I'm cool with it. But my highest producers year in and year out are networkers, and they have a huge presence on social media, and they utilize social media to build up their own book of business. And so I look at, when I hire, I look at people's, social media, and I ask them, what's your social media? Like, do you utilize it? Are you not? That tells me, okay, do I need to feed you more and more live transfers and data leads? Or can I focus a little bit more maybe on some social media marketing for you specifically? And that helps with my marketing and my budgeting for them as well. So we look at social media a lot when we look at hiring.
No, I love that. And I'm completely in agreement with that too. Like, we created a software we're continuously working on too, Jarvie, that helps automate the hiring process. And that's one of the key things that it does. Shoots out to the social media things. And if their contact information gets hit on their Facebook and LinkedIn, looking at, how active is that individual? Because if you think about it, if somebody's not afraid to pick up the phone or not afraid to get on a camera, they're going to probably be very, very low propensity and low probability of having call reluctance, which is one of the biggest things that you see out there as a failure point in sales, is they get like all clammed up, they get frozen up on the phone, they find out it's not for them. But if you can pick up a camera and you can look at camera in the eyes and you can talk, you can go out and network, like, I think that person has a much higher propensity for succeeding than anybody else. So 100% agree, and love that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's overlooked a lot, honestly. And again, I'm not going to not hire you because of social media, but that's going to be if I'm between a couple of candidates and you're very active and you've got a good following and you love to utilize social media to build up your presence, I'm leaning towards you,
Yeah, well, what I'd like to go into next is, because I know one of the things that's a big strong suit to use is just being a servant leader inside of your agency. And I'd be curious. There's a lot of people that come out there as maybe, they lack that. They didn't have that in a past prior life, and they're trying to develop that, and they're trying to be a good leader. And, like many of us at one point in time in our career, whether it was in insurance or outside of insurance, we had to learn the hard way. We had to learn the importance of servant leadership versus coming in with the iron fist and the stick. We had to learn the principles like lead by example versus, maybe giving somebody a directive and an order and not living those things that we're asking our team to do. I'd be curious, what does your leadership style look like? How has it evolved over time? And what have you found the most effective, form of consistency when it comes to leadership?
So we'll let people know when we hire them. I don't micromanage. If I have to micromanage you, it's just not going to be a good fit. I'll just, go elsewhere. I don't like to micromanage. I like to give you what I expect, and I'm going to help you get there. But you've got to also ask me questions. So we're recording calls. We're listening to calls actively daily through myself and my manager. We're on Zoom. Like, hey, make sure you mention this, or make sure you mention that, or don't forget to overcome the objection if they start. We are actively listening to calls and working with our team while they are still on the phone with customers. And so that's a big thing is letting them know we are listening. We are trying to help you grow. Again, not like where I started, like, hey, here's a list, here's a phone book, whatever, go call, make some sales. I want to help you grow. And so what I have to do is I've got to be active in the agency and active in the sales process. So they know I know what I'm talking about. Right. Because I don't sell anymore. I haven't sold in years, but I've had a few things come up. Oh, some jokes come up like, oh, could you even still, sell insurance? You know what I mean? Like, let's go. I'll do a 24-hour challenge with you. And let's roll. I'll start selling. You know what I do? I show up and I win. Okay. So I win. Great. Let's get back to work. Now let's focus on this. Let's work on your closing, because your closing is not there. You're getting people on the phone, but they're not agreeing to the quote. Let's work on this. So me actively being in the agency day in and day out, I can't stand not being here. I don't know if it's an addiction or whatever it is, but I love being in my business every day. I can't work remote. Okay. If I have to, I'm not very productive. I love being in the zone, in the office, going to people's offices, motivating them, pushing them, getting them pumped up for a sale or something. I just love the culture that we've built here. And that's the thing. It's just people got to know that you're in it and you've got blood in the game. And that's what that's going to be. That's going to be back to the coaching. That's going to be back to the development, listening to calls live and Zooming them like, oh my gosh, he's listening. Heck yeah, I'm listening. Let's go. Let's get this. Right. I know I've coached and talked with so many agents who they don't listen to recorded calls, and they definitely don't listen to live calls. And I think that's a huge missing fact. You will never, ever get a better agent, or you will never grow your agency or grow your producers if you're not helping them and critiquing them when needed.
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
Good stuff too. Like, hey, y'all freaking just I'm sharing that closing. I'm going to share that closing with the whole team. You absolutely crush
100%. And it's like inspecting what you're expecting, reward and recognition. That's all huge.
It's little.
Daniel, I had a manager back in the day, used to have me listen to my calls. He'd listen to them with me. It was super funny because 90% of the time he'd just pause it where I messed up and he'd just look at me and not say anything. And then I critiqued myself, So like, I think sometimes just like making it a practice to get them listening to themselves as well is like half the battle, because most people will spot, oh boss, you're right. Like I knew I messed that up. I can do better. You know what I mean? Do you see that as well in your business?
Oh, 100%. Two things. One, they hate hearing themselves talk. Like, oh, I don't want to listen to that. I hate the way I sound. Tough. Get over it. And two, it's like, why is there so much dead silence? Oh my gosh, I thought I was talking the whole time. No, you took a minute and a half while you're clicking buttons and you weren't having a conversation. We got to fix that. And kind of what you just said, Andy, listen to your own phone calls and stuff. We'll do something that I got from somebody else, another agent. Every single call, you've got to ask for the referral. I don't care if you close it or you don't close it. You've got to ask, hey, you did the whole sales process and all that. Ask for, if not, you got to do a redemption call. So if we catch you and you don't ask for the referral, pick up the phone. I'm going to sit in your office. You got to call back and explain that, oh, I forgot the most important part. I wanted to ask you, you'd mentioned that your parents just moved to town. I would love to talk to them about insurance. You mind if I get their contact info? They got to do a redemption call, because we want to hold them to a high standard.
I like that.
If I say, hey, you've got to ask for a referral every single call, and they're not doing it, and I'm like, oh, okay, we'll try to do it next time. They'll never do it. Got to hold them accountable. Hold them accountable. Now you got to make this very awkward redemption call in front of me and the other agent, right? So now stuff like that, they rarely ever forget a sales referral.
No, I love that.
Like that.
That's awesome.
You think about it too. It's like, I think a lot of people don't realize sometimes the importance of training like that. Champions train every day. Like some of the best, professional athletes out there, they are who they are because even when they get better, they still train every single day. And there's something to be said about too, leading by example. For me, I was blessed to come from a former life. When I got new insurance, I came in with leadership ability. I was in, retail leading, 70 employees, $24 million superstore, and sales was one of my biggest fortes. So coming in and leading by example and like training through osmosis was one of the best things that they did, because it's really tough to give excuses. It's tough to not show up when you're sitting literally 5 feet away from your boss and your boss is murdering the phone and doing the hard things and you're showing up at an intense level. Yeah. And then it just kind of creates this pressure chamber in this ecosystem where it's like all ships rise with the tide. And I think, some of the best things that agents can do, I see some agents that, they're afraid of the phone. And if you want to be a really effective leader, get freaking intimate with that phone and start slinging deals, because it might not sound sexy in the beginning, but I'm a firm believer in, like, you got to earn the right to be CEO. And it's tough to lead something that you can't teach. And if you can't do something, it's tough to teach it. And I think there's something to be said about doing that. Like, so that was one of the things that I would do, is like critique my own calls, where I'd literally listen to it after the fact and like, start to almost become predictive. Well, I know if I say this, I can get him to say this. And if I say this, I know that I'm going to say this. And then that's going to lead them to saying this. And I'm going to say this. And this is where I get the credit card. And then you can start to realize there's only 10 common objections. There's only a certain set of things that they're going to say. And you can literally almost, master it and create this predictive scenario where you're not going to close everybody, but more times than not, you can get the deal rather than not get the deal, and then teach those skill sets, down to your team. So I'm completely in agreed with that. Train, listen to calls, kind of inspect what you expect. And then staying on the topic of leadership, I think a lot of times, leaders are readers and leaders learn from other leaders. And I'd be curious, because again, you hear me say it over and over again, success leaves clues. Just kind of like my little guy today left clues who messed with my audio equipment in the office because he left this little alligator pacifier on the desk. So, success leaves clues. You see clues from other leaders. I'd be curious, what are your, maybe top 1, 2, or 3 leadership books that people could read to learn from other leaders to become a better leader themselves?
So let me tell you this. I don't read books. I listen to podcasts more than anything. I can't listen to, I love like the Founders podcast. I love that podcast. I think it's a great one. I can't sit to read a book. I've read a few leadership books here and there, and I feel like it goes one ear and out the other, but I drive so much every single day. Drop my son off. He goes to school 30 minutes away, and picking him up and car line and all this, and between 2 agencies. I love podcasts. I love listening to podcasts. And one of my favorite ones is the Founders. And I don't know if you guys have looked into that one, but it's talking about founders of businesses that where they started, where they grew, and how they grew to what it is. And I love listening to these podcasts. And then I'll just jump on. I'll say, okay, I just do everything through Apple, but I'll put in someone's name. Like if I hear someone on a podcast, I'm going to put their name in and I'm going to listen to their podcast, other podcasts that they've been on. Right. I love like Dana White. Like I love Dana White and his whole story at the UFC. Huge UFC.
Yeah, he's awesome.
So I love listening to any podcast he's on.
And like Andy Frisella, he's got a lot of wisdom he drops too. Ed Maulet's another great one.
Yeah. So I'm just big on podcasts. I don't do books. Never got into them. Just I couldn't sit to focus and take in what I'm reading, but I can listen to something all day and I'll retain it, and I love it. People love it. So I'm more of a podcast guy on when we talk about, improving yourself and growing and learning, and stuff like that. All podcasts for me.
No, I love it. Love it. And then, switching gears, I know one of the things that, kind of sets your agency apart is the overall customer experience. Talk to us a little bit about that. What does that look like in your culture in terms of commitment to excellence when it comes to the customer experience? And then how has that commitment to excellence really shaped your agency and your bottom line?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are not hands off in any way. It's the easy way to put it. We are not hands off in anything that we do within this agency. I know, some corporate offices and home offices, depending on the carriers and all that, like, well, we want to handle this part. You don't need to handle that. We'll do your customer service. Nope. Everything's staying with my agency. And we honestly, we hold people. We've got so many people that walk in just to they'll make a payment. They're here for an hour just to talk. They love coming into this agency. They love talking to us, but it's little details that we try to focus on. Anybody can just take a payment. Anybody can do an endorsement, but it's actually sitting there having conversations. But it's the handwritten cards. We send out so many handwritten cards to people every single week, and it could be a birthday. It could be, they were in our office last week and they talked about their new vehicle that we just added. We're going to send them a handwritten card. Said, hey, congrats on that new vehicle. I absolutely love the color you picked out. It's that personal touch. Handwritten anything goes so much further than the email.
Oh, absolutely.
So, I don't even know how, I really honestly don't know how much we spend in stamps a month. And I probably don't want to know how much we spend in stamps.
Yeah.
We seriously send out so many handwritten cards, birthdays, bereavement, weddings, just celebrating things. Maybe their son just won the soccer championship with his team and they got medals. We're going to send them something about that. So it's those little touches, and the emails, they don't ever write back. So that's one thing, but we get emails and calls all the time. I just got your letter. Thank you so much. That meant so much to my family. I mean, I couldn't even speak on how many, unfortunately, how many funerals I've been to customers and the family. Yep. You're the insurance agent. Were y'all best friends? No, you're just a good client of mine. Taking those extra steps. Again, anybody can do it. Right. Anybody can take a payment, change a car. What are you doing just to stand out? And how would you want to be dealt with? Right? People just like, oh, it's just a customer. Well, how many times are you a customer a day? How much stuff are you buying a day? Right? You're a customer. How would you want someone to be treated, or how would you want someone to treat you if you were in their business?
Oh, 100%. I mean, just transactions don't build relationships. And I think, a lot of people, as much as they want to outsource it, you really can't outsource building relationships. That'd be kind of like, hey, I'm going to have, my son's got a baseball game. I'm going to go send somebody else to go watch them and then expect that relationship to flourish. Probably won't go too far. You got to be there. You got to show up and be there in the important moments. That's why, like, even in our company at Team Hired, like 50% of the compensation plan is all derived off of success points that we, have as KPIs, which are behaviors that tie to the customer experience. Like, hey, you can't stop working with this person unless, they give you that glowing, Google review. There's some sort of impact that's left on the call. You leave them better off. Video testimonial from them proving that it was more than a transaction, but they were satisfied, one. And then two, that I know they can't get those things done. Somebody that they didn't build a relationship with is not going to be willing to do a video testimonial or a review. So it kind of gives us our barometer, so to speak, in terms of making sure that, they are solidifying those relationships, and it's more than just a number. So I love that.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's a good point. And I think that's, again, there's just so many people I've talked to. That's just a missing point. They're so transactional when it gets to their insurance agencies. And they're not thinking about how they would want to be treated if they were a consumer, right? If they were a prospect, they were a customer, how would they want to be treated to them, and I know a lot that really take customer service to the next level. And I've learned a lot through the last 8 years of just talking, again, to mentors and other agents and asking for help. Why is your retention so high? How'd you get it that, and they're sharing their success and what they're doing to be successful in that area. We just do the same, and we just kind of figure it out. It's, again, the customer's got to be put on a pedestal. You're right. People spend so much time on prospects, and the customers are walking out the door. You got to spend time on both of them. These are the people that are feeding you. Prospects not feeding you yet, because customers are feeding you. Why are you not holding their hand? Why are you not helping them? Why are you not going the extra mile for them? And I know we're a sales organization. It's very salesy, and they're pushing for higher numbers. Well, if you focus on that, I tell you what's going to drop. It's going to be the customer over here. That retention rate is going to drop 2, 3, 4 points if you're focusing only on sales. It's got to be.
I think it's just like that in anything in life, right? I think it's, I think as Zig Ziglar said, help enough other people get where they want to go. You don't got to worry about your destination there. And too many people will focus on the number. Too many people will focus on the money. While that can give you some short-term results in the beginning, usually doesn't lead to long-term sustainable results. And I think if you put your heart in the right place, just like you do and your team, and you're focused on the right thing, the money always comes, the numbers always come, but they can't be the focal point in everything that you do. It's got to be deeper than that. It's got to be so much more. So that's why I love how you run your operation that way. And it's, outstanding the way you lead your team.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree. Thank you.
And then, next thing I'd like to get into too, and I know we got a lot to get in here today. AI and innovation. I know you're a big AI guy, and I'd be curious how you use, innovative strategies such as AI inside of your agency, and what are the thoughts out there? Because there's, as AI rapidly develops, you even have AI customer service agents, sales agents. Will AI replace insurance agents, or maybe just those that are unprepared? Be curious your thoughts.
Yeah, I don't think it'll replace it. I really don't. And I've heard, I've listened to this and the debates and stuff all over. Is AI going to take over, insurance? I don't think it ever will. But I think people are missing the important part is how it can help them grow on a personal level, on their agency level, on their business level. And people are scared of AI, but I don't think they need to be scared of it. I can just see AI as just enhancing what we're doing with our customers and consumers and prospects and all that. I see it as a lift. And so we love using AI. And I go back to like when we talk about coaching and training and all that. And, I'll talk to an agent, like, I don't have time to listen to calls. They're 45-minute calls and I don't have time. Okay, well, pick out a few and listen to them. The rest of them, throw them in AI and have a coach. Okay. That's what you need to do. AI, my account knows how we coach. They know our scorecard. They know the 7 things that we look at. Are you building rapport? Are you asking for this? Are you going over liability? Did you overcome an objection? It knows those 7 points that I'm looking for. Take that transcript, put it in there, let it do the work. And now you listen to a live call, right? You let your team know you're listening. On the other side, I'm getting 20 calls coached every single day by using AI. And then I'm coaching 2 or 3 calls myself. Right. So I just quadrupled the amount of coaching calls I can do because I'm utilizing AI a little bit more for us to help.
That's awesome.
One thing that we also look at, people, maybe they're a one-stop shop, or maybe it's just a one producer, the agent's never in, they're on the golf course or whatever. Well, I don't have anybody to coach with, or I don't have anybody to role play with. Get AI. A lot of people don't know ChatGPT. You can actually talk to ChatGPT and you can do a live role play, voice to voice, utilize it. Let them know, here's the 7 points I'm supposed to be doing, right?
Oh, 100%.
Here's the objections that I need help overcoming. Utilize it. I used to do that in the car. This was last year when I realized that. I used to go back and forth with AI talking, forget the podcast, forget the music, and just talk to AI. It's okay, I'm going to overcome this objection, because if I can't do it, I can't teach my team to do it. So I got to make sure I'm always on top of it, right? And again, you go back to like, people always training and getting better and coaching themselves and all that. They'll never get better. Same thing. I don't even sell, but I need to make sure I know how to overcome every objection very quickly. So when it comes down to it, I can teach my team the same. So utilize AI in that way, but my big thing is it's for coaching. Coaching and AI can go hand in hand. I don't think AI is going to take over positions, but I think AI can help. AI is coming out where you're on a live call, AI is going to be telling you what to say when they say, you know what, call me next week. Instead of you trying to think about it, AI is going to be on your screen and say, hey, say these exact words. Oh, hey, I understand. We call you next week. It's going to be live coaching.
And it's funny to say that. We actually have that to a theater near you coming to Ricochet too, where we're going to have something that looks and talks
See,
a lot like that. As long as all state approved.
That's that's going to be a make it right there. That's going to be a huge benefit, is especially just for coaching, like for new people, never been in insurance. And I've got one right now. She's never been in insurance. She's doing awesome coaching and training, learning the talk paths and role playing and all that. If she could have something up on her screen and it's telling her basically word for word what to say, because this AI system knows exactly what you as an agency wants. And it's not a quick shop, cheap sell. It's the coaching, the liability, the education aspect of insurance. And she can just read it word for word, and it goes and updates as the conversation's being carried. That's massive.
Oh, 100%. And I got a different perspective on AI. I think it's not AI that's going to replace the people in it. It's people that get good at and really adopt and get great at using AI that are going to replace the people that are left behind that choose not to use AI and ignore it. Just like the internet, just like everything else, just like anything else, developmental and technology. Like even now, I'm nowhere near where I want to use AI, but I live in it every single day. And I think the more creative you can get, you can use it for just about anything. Like you got an email that comes in, it's like, hey, you know what? Instead of spending all this time writing emails, pop my email into there. If it's a complex email, hey, analyze this for me And here's my rebuttal. I can voice dictate into ChatGPT to write the email and then tell me what I might have left out of this email and make sure it's got a professional polish to my tone and my voice. And then boom, all of a sudden the email, it could have taken me hours. You hear how many times you hear people say, I spent hours, I can't even get out of my inbox. Well, it's like now all of a sudden what took me 2 hours, I get done in 8 minutes. And then I also think you look at it as a mentor from a strategic, like a second brain that can help you critical think, increase your IQ and problem solve at a much higher degree. So you're sitting there trying to problem solve something, bounce it off the ChatGPT. And as it's learning from you, you're learning from it. And it's not there as a crutch, but it's almost like it's elevating you and you're learning from it just like a mentor. The better the questions you had it,
yeah,
you're going to get. You know, I'll ask it all the time. Hey, this is how I'm using you. You see how I'm using you. Knowing this is how I live and this is how I operate, and here's some of my goals. If you were me, ChatGPT, how would you use you differently at maximum capacity and maximum potential to make my life more productive, make my life better? These are the core values that matter most to me. And the more you tell it about you and you ask it that question, all of a sudden it gives you back a blueprint of how you could use AI better. And then it causes me to level up of how I'm using AI. And then maybe 30 days later, I ask that same question again, and you're just getting better and better and better and evolving at it. So I think it's here to stay, and people get on board for sure.
100%. I think we go back, we look at 10, 12, 15 years ago, we're like, if you're not on social media, you're gonna be left behind. You've got to be on social media. Mm-hmm. Now it's, if you're not utilizing AI, you're gonna be left behind. You've got to use.
There's even AI, AI influencers coming out on social media that are eating people's lunch. So if you're looking to get on social media, now is the time, because other humans are putting AI on social media, and there's literally AI influencers that are hacking the algorithm and getting millions of viewers that are out there. Yeah. But eventually, like, there's going to be a sea of those, and think about how much more competition there will be to build an audience. So if you're looking to build an audience, like, the time is now when it comes to, social media before that window closes.
Yeah, agree.
Good. Love it. And then, a big thing, because I mean, you got a lot of talents in your repertoire. So marketing and COIs, like a big thing for you guys. It's not just the lead game and grinding on internet leads. That might be one of the arrows in your quiver, but you guys really specialize in getting something right that a lot of people struggle with. It's also, ironically, in the lens of relationships, where you guys are strong at. So tell me a little bit about marketing and COIs, how you build that out. And I think more importantly, I think agency owners can do it, but how do you get your team on board?
Yeah, absolutely. And getting the team on board is easy once they've had a little bit of success with COIs, right? For an agency my size, I could sit here and tell you I spend $3,000 a month in marketing. That's it. On a good month, I spend $3,000. That's it.
That's great.
I do not spend a lot of money on marketing, buying leads. We do buy a lot of data leads. We have 3 agents who are very successful with it. Our acquisition cost is par with what I would want for a data lead. But if I can get an item under $150 an item, I'm cool. Like, that's a good number. Keep me under 150. I love under 100, but $150 an item, I'm good. COIs, I'm doing for under $13 an item. The agent I used to work for, they had this thing on their wall, their motto, and it was building relationships, not numbers. And that's exactly what we do with our COIs. We focus on building relationships, not numbers. So what's tough is getting the team on board to go out there, put themselves out there and say, hey, I'd love to grab lunch or coffee, or let's talk and let's meet. That's what gets them. But once they get a COI hooked, and when I talk about COIs, and I'll be clear on this, on who's listening and stuff, centers of influence. So for our agency, it's mostly mortgage brokers, real estate agents, those two. But the minute they get a taste of a mortgage broker sending them a couple leads, and they close 1 out of every 2 leads, 1 out of every 3 leads, close rates are 30, 40% on COI business. I'll take that all day long. And so my staff, when they figure that out, like, oh my gosh, if I'm closing this at 30, 35% versus the standard of 16% across the industry, I'm going to spend more time on building this relationship. You know what? As an agency owner, I love that. I'll go buy meals all day long. It's not cost me thousands of dollars a month. Yep. I mean, seriously, my acquisition cost, I've never had one over $13 a lead with any COI that we've ever dealt with. In some COIs, we never spent a dime. I've done presentations in the past and it says acquisition cost $0 to $13. And the 0 is because we've never spent a dime on 2 of our COIs. One came from an insurance deck page request. Sent me an email asking for a deck page, and we turned that into one of the top lenders that we deal with now. And we've never spent a dime on them. They work remote. They don't have an office, so we don't go there. So getting your team on board to get out and just, I know it can be uncomfortable a little bit, especially in the beginning, but once they get a taste of getting something that's closing at 30-40%, it changes their mindset to focus more on relationships and less on just outbound dials. That takes time to build up. That's a build up time. Just like I said earlier, you're not going to build a COI overnight, right? It's going to take time. It's going to take some weeks and months, and you gotta sell yourself on why they should work with you and not the other 200 insurance agents in your city. What makes you stand out? What's not going to make you stand out is a $2 box of cookies and you go by their office and drop off cookies. You're not going to stand out, right?
It's kind of like it's back to the baseball game analogy. You show up to your son's baseball game, drop off a box of cookies, and then you peace out. You're not going to develop a relationship there with your own son. So if you can't do that with your kid, like you're not going to do that with some stranger by a couple cookies.
Yeah, going back to like the handwritten cards and how we work with our customers. Same with COIs. You got to get to know them on a personal level, make them feel like they're part of your life, and you want to work with them directly, and make sure when you're talking to them, they know that they're very important to you, and you shouldn't treat them just as another lead source, right? This is just another person that's going to send me leads. Now, this is my friend. This is someone I have a good relationship with, and I'm gonna flourish on that. I'm gonna grow on that. So we've been very blessed with that, and very, very successful with focusing time, energy, and efforts on building COIs. We're very outside the box thinking on how we obtain them, and we're very outside the box on how we can retain them as well. So we just, again, like you said, we're focusing on the relationships, but that's something that's missing, especially for smaller agents that maybe they don't have a big marketing budget and they can't spend $10,000 a month on marketing. Focus a little bit of time here and you'll see success.
No, I love that. And I know you're a busy man, and you got another call right after this, an important call with Allstate, because you're doing such big things and coaching agents that are out there. They have you on a call coming up next. So the final question will be, and then after that, feel free. I'd like to have you talk about how people can work with you. The final question will be is, what's Daniel Austin, if, hey, you're not going to be here maybe next week, and you had to really think about one thing you had to leave the world, one piece of wisdom, one thing that summed up your legacy in this world, what would that one thing be? And feel free to take a moment to think about it, because I know it's a deep question.
Yeah, it is deep. It's tough. I want people to love me, but honestly, and this might not even go for even business, just on a personal level, I want people to know that I made them smile at some point. I love making people laugh. I love making people smile. I'm not a comedian by any way, but I want people to feel my energy when I'm around them. So if something were to happen and I'm not here next week, I want people to remember he was always positive. He's upbeat, and his energy was just a fun, creative, active energy, and people would feed off of me. That's what I want. So not so much on a business side, but on a personal side, it's just, I want to make people smile. I want people to be happy. Life's too short, man. Like, you got to enjoy your life while you're at it. You might have, who said this? Someone said this. Deion Sanders said this. He said, I never have a bad day. I might have a bad moment. I might have a bad minute. Maybe I have a bad hour, but I never have a bad day.
Yeah, I love
never
that.
a full day you're bad. And I think it was on a podcast or something I was listening to or something. So, and that's what I look like. Life's too short to hold grudges. Life's too short to, not push yourself and to be the best that you can be, because we're nothing in the scheme of things, right? You need to make sure you're happy with yourself and you're smiling and you're having fun.
And I can attest that's what you're about too, because I know that's the way you make me feel, and so many others when I see you out and about. So we definitely appreciate that about you and appreciate that positive energy, my friend. And I guess last but not least, how do people work with you if they want to coach with you? How do people work with you in any capacity?
Yeah. So, I do a lot of team trainings. So maybe you're one of those agency owners that doesn't have time to coach their team. I'll do it. Right. But maybe you're an agency owner that's like, I've got so much going on. I don't know how to get things straightened out. How do I grow this team? What should I do with marketing? How do I hold my staff accountable? All that. I'll just work directly with you alone. I don't have to work with your team. So there's different ways. Best thing is social media or craigwigginscoaching.com/Daniel. And that'll take you. But social media is the easiest way to get a hold of me. Daniel Austin or DJ Austin 88 on most of my platforms is the username. So reach out to me on that. And I'd love to let's just have a conversation. If you want to coach, or if you don't want to coach, let's at least have a conversation.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for just the amazing, just all the nuggets and the wisdom you dropped today. And if you guys are watching live, please give them a lot of love. Drop those emojis in the chat. If you're watching the rerun, do the same thing. Make sure you drop a lot of love for this guy. Feel free to reach out. In one of the most powerful things you can do is 3 words: ask for help. And Daniel's a great guy to do that with. So thank you guys. Thanks for tuning in to another amazing episode of Ask the Experts. We're going to see you next week, same channel, same time. And until then, we're out.